Oh, cool. My name is Cohen Simpson, and the name of my project was the Network Democracy, Facebook and Political Information. So, the internet is uniquely poised to support the free flow of information necessary for democracy. Social network sites like Facebook illustrate the web's enormous capacity to allow people to gather publicly via online environments. Noteworthy were the ways social network sites were used during the 2008 presidential election, in addition to more recently during events in the Middle East. This demonstrates that they have become a major method of political information dissemination and mobilization. This property of the internet led me to inquire as to how politically related content is disseminated and acquired on Facebook. And due to its prevalence and popularity among practitioners of new media, we chose Facebook for our particular online social networks. And as you guys know, social media is vast. There's lots of different types out there that cater to different interests and needs and things like that. But we all know Facebook. I hope you're all on Facebook. And that's why I chose Facebook. And today's and actually, before I go ahead, here's some Facebook quick facts. So we have 500 million active users. People spend over 700 billion minutes per month on Facebook, and there are over 900 million objects that people interact with. And so we have pages, groups, events, and community pages. I mean, there's a lot going on Facebook. So it's really rich in terms of a great place to do research. So in today's conversation, I'll detail my study by overviewing structures, measures, and related concepts, and then we'll discuss results and conclude by sharing implications for future research. And because of our time restraints, I might have to skip some of the meat, the measure stuff. That'll just bore you guys. So, project overview and hypotheses. The study was centered around three main concepts: social network sites and politics, motivations to use social network sites, and news audience segmentation. The latter of which is going to be a series of categories that describe how individuals receive their news. Forgive me for not automatically advancing my point here. And it's kind of central to the study of past news audience segmentation is going to be personal political savings. So this is how emotionally invested or emotionally entrenched in political history, events, ideologies the individual is. And people who rank high in PPS, they internalize engagement with political events and make it central to themselves. So given their deep connection to political topics and information, individuals with higher levels of PPS may be more inclined to satisfy information needs from Facebook. And up here we have hypotheses for each area and what they concern. So intensity of Facebook use and exposure to political information for hypothesis 1. 2A and 2B concern PPS and dissemination and acquisition of political info. Motivations to use social network sites, we have PPS and the satisfaction of information needs. And lastly, for hypothesis 4A and B, we have net users that particularly use audience segmentation and how they acquire and disseminate political information. So, I employed a convenient sample of 69 wonderful individuals. Participants were asked to complete an online survey hosted via Qualtrics consisting of 4 measures designed to assess types of Facebook use, intensity of Facebook use, I don't know why they're doing that, intensity of Facebook use, emotional investment in politics, and consumption of news through different mediums. The survey took about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead to the results section because we really want to get to that. Chi-square tests of independence were performed to test the relationship between the variables in each hypothesis, and hypothesis 3 was tested via Pearson correlation. We all had a significance level of 0.05. Okay? So selected points of discussion. Results failed to support. Results fail to support a positive relationship between degree of Facebook use and exposure to political information. So we have 53% of our individuals were moderate users, and that's about 30 to 90 minutes per week on Facebook. But of those people who use Facebook moderately, 17.3% of them only saw political content 5 or more times during the week, and that's the absolute minimum amount. So that was 0 to 5 on the survey, that particular group. And then we had 33.3% of individuals were heavy users, so that's more than 90 minutes per week on Facebook. But only 14.4% of them saw politically related content 5 or more times. This suggests that Facebook is actually not an accurate, or time on Facebook, excuse me, is not an accurate predictor of exposure to political content. Furthermore, that people who spend increased amounts of time on Facebook are simply not seeing political information. Now, this is interesting as it contradicts popular belief that online social networks, or Facebook in general, is playing host to a wealth of political exchange. It should be noted that there were contrasting results regarding politically related status updates. 47.8% of moderate users and 31.9% of heavy users saw this type of update. This contrast may be attributed to the fact that status updates primarily appear in the mini feed. So, when you log into Facebook, we're kind of, you just get this inundated with this wealth of information, and that's typically where attention is drawn on Facebook. So things like Facebook pages and political advertisements can often play secondary roles. Let's see here. So we'll move on. Our results also suggest that PPS has no bearing on acquisition or dissemination of political information using Facebook. Of those who ranked high in PPS, which was 15.9% of the total sample, 3.3% saw political content on Facebook, 10.1% saw political advertisement, and all saw politically related status update. So to get high on PPS, took one standard deviation above the mean, and then the rest were kind of labeled as low to moderate PPS. Furthermore, only 1.4% posted politically related content, and 2.9% commented on content originally appearing on a candidate's Facebook page. This suggests that individuals who are emotionally invested in politics are indeed actively looking for and acquiring political information when it's readily available to them. So in the mid-feed, so it's right there as soon as you log on to Facebook. But they're not actually taking those initial steps to go forward and kind of mine that political information when it's not there, easily accessible to them. So on the whole, Facebook users are not deeply connected to political information. Moving on to limitations of the study. On the surface, I must admit that these findings are disheartening, given the position of online social networks as great facilitators of democracy within our increasingly globalized society. So we saw all that stuff that happened over in the Middle East. We know about the 2008 presidential election. We're all really excited about what's going to happen in the 2012 presidential election with social media. But this seems to suggest that there's not a lot going on there. But in actuality, methodology, or in my opinion, my methodology, were the pitfalls of the study. So we have ineffective operationalization of news, political information, and dissemination. We also have how we conceptualize news, and furthermore, we have issues with the sample size. So the sample was random and it was not representative. In regards to operationalization, participants were given categorical data, which limited analysis to less advanced statistical testing. And in regards to conceptualization of news, findings also forced into consideration of whether or not users of Facebook are perceive the information they receive via the social network sites as news or political information in the traditional sense. Although the content a Facebook user encounters may deal with a current event or some hot political topic, he or she may liken it to the random of a friend or just some simple random Facebook posting of the day and not make it synonymous with the news or political information they might receive from CNN.com or newspaper or something like that. Furthermore, as we mentioned before, Facebook users are inundated. We cannot forget kind of the influx of information that comes in when we log into the mini feed. And in my opinion, I think that really inhibits their ability to assign importance to the information they're receiving online. So everything, we just get the stream of information. And in a lot of cases, the stuff that sticks out most is the stuff that's most visually engaging. It just becomes white noise, if you will. So as we move forward, I feel that scholars, when crafting research projects, they have to keep key questions regarding methodology as top of mind. So the first one is going to be, how does one ethically and effectively gain access to data regarding online practices that is often kept behind virtual and physical walls? Access to data alone can often present challenges during the early stages of research. Should participants be surveyed, or will content analysis yield better results? You really have to ask these questions to yourself when you are carrying out a research project. And when surveying, it might yield more effective, or an individual might more effectively tap the phenomena if you carried out data collection online as opposed to using paper pencil surveys, because you want to kind of meet your populace where they are, right? So they're online, so why don't we go there and try to get that information? Almost finished, I know you guys are hungry. Furthermore, the internet's distinct characteristics make content analysis a viable method of research. So for example, due to Twitter's immense popularity, and I don't know how many of you guys know this, but the United States Library of Congress has actually archived all public tweets. So Anything you tweet publicly, it's there for the world to know. We're essentially writing history and being online, which is really cool. I see some people. Don't worry about that. Your mouth just dropped. I don't know if you knew that, but you know, it's not. So it should be noted that, you know, while this is a great way to kind of really data mine, you know, really run some interesting analysis in terms of what's going on online, issues of privacy really arise when we use these methods. So users may not know, as this individual clearly demonstrated that she did not, that the content they post via various social networks is available publicly. As research moves forward, the academic community must address what informed consent means in the digital age. So it's very, very important. There's a lot of questions of privacy in the internet kind of going on right now. Furthermore, researchers must also ask what unique challenges to conceptualization and operationalization do the nuances of the web present. Internet researchers do. Brand new. There's a lot of stuff going on. But concepts have to take into account, or concepts can take on whole new context within the virtual realm. And once a concept is outlined in WebSafe, what does it mean to develop a reliable and valid measure to be used with online research or internet research? As scholars move forward, they must inquire as to how users engage with digital content and carry out their digital existence. This will help them to better define concepts within virtual parameters, and it'll allow them to further incorporate insight regarding online behaviors and practices. So that was kind of the quick and dirty, since we don't want Airmark to wait too long. But as we move forward, no individual can definitively say what the future will hold in regard to communication studies and social network sites. And despite the results of this study suggesting that there's not that much going on there, a lot more research has to be done. I'm not perfect, and I don't think any scholar admits to being perfect. And as we can see, I only had 69 people take the survey, and there's some real strong methodological shortfalls in the study. But it really does direct our future as we move forward. And this will be something I continue to work on once I get to Oxford. There are a lot of great people at the Oxford Internet Institute talking about these same types of things. You know, privacy online, reliable and valid measures online. So I'm hoping we can turn this into something publishable one day, but I'll let you guys know. But before we go, I really have to thank Dr. Catherine Hawkins, Professor Cohen, and all the time I knock on Joe's door for always helping me with this project. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening. Sure, go ahead.
So when you were walking up to the, when you were looking at the moderate, was there anything to quantify the amount of political access they had in their newsfeed? Like how many local politicians they were friends with, or that they liked, how many statuses that were politically, or how many events they decided to be political in nature? Was that anything with a scale for judging, you know, their involvement?
How much they saw political activity, or how much they saw political
how much they
education?
had the opportunity? Because it's not going to show up on their newsfeed if they aren't friends with those people. So
Yeah.
was that a measure at all, how the opportunity they had to have access to their
No, I didn't ask them how many Facebook friends they had, or how many friendships they had with political candidates or figures or anything of that nature. There are 8 items to kind of designed to generally assess exposure to political content on Facebook, but nothing specifically saying how many political figures are you friends with, or how many times have you liked their political pages. Well, that's a good suggestion for future research. Dr. Wolf?
I wanted to ask, how do you define politics?
Okay, so there is political news, and then there's political content / information. Political news is going to be anything kind of coming down from a traditional media outlet, so a newspaper or a news website or anything like that. It's traditional media that's giving us political news. But political content and information is anything circulated via Facebook or any other online social network. And there's a study that defined those two things. I can't recall the authors right now.
No, I think I'm wondering what constituted political focus. So was it electoral politics or legislative politics, or is it, are you also talking cultural, ideological appearance of somebody was Jesus, or they posted the marriage not related to the news item? Where did you draw the line for what is not politics?
I did.
Okay.
So it was just anything. I said, well, No, I actually didn't. I just assumed that they would understand what political news was, which I don't know what following.
They,
So sort of
they
self-
get to say what they, yeah,
Yeah.
they determined what they thought was
It was political.
counted as political. But I think you raised a really important point, and that is the issue of definitions of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a very important point, and also just what you touched on, what counts as news.
Exactly.
Now, how do people in these days define what counts as news? You know, is it that, you know, when I was young, back in the days, the news came on at 6 o'clock, you
Yeah.
know? But now you can get news from a variety of different sources at different kinds of times. News comes from newscasters, or does news come from something, you know, maybe texting? You know, so what counts as news? And I think that really gets at what you're talking about, conceptualization of these constructs. I mean, how do you define these things? Because if you don't have understanding and agreement on that, it makes it extremely difficult to measure, you know, those things then. So
So what I'm-
that's really where I think, what you really made a contribution to is pointing out that those things really need a great deal of development in order to do this kind of research.
So the idea is that what I'm arguing with this paper is a complete overhaul of what news and political information means in the context of the internet. What we have now does not work, in my opinion. Yeah, there needs to be more research, but generally speaking, I mean, the internet has to be the lens with which we're looking through these things. And right now, those current definitions don't take the internet into account. Dr. Holland, I'm sorry.
This is to kind of extension of that conversation. One of the, as you develop this project, one of the bodies of literature that you might look into is the discussions about fake news and its political efficacy and how people are using that. Because even though, like John Stewart Career, those kinds of things, even though this is a little bit different, one of the things that some of the research suggests is that, I mean, this kind of goes back to traditional, you know, form and content can't be separated from one another. And so some of the research suggests that some people going into watching a show like the Career Report assume, okay, I'm, you know, this is an entertainment-esque kind of show, and so they might not identify it as being newsworthy, and yet when you ask them questions later, they actually come up with things that you don't like count as being newsworthy. So I think that I think that, you know, you kind of tap into something in this last part of the conversation about the ability to recognize, you know, what counts as news and what doesn't. But there seems to be something also going on with regards to Facebook, although it's in a different way, that suggests that the order in which news is presented may have an effect, I don't know what that would be, or some sort of, I don't say effect, but there may be something going on in terms of the relationship between what we're perceiving that we're consuming and what we're actually consuming, or how that translates later on into political action or whatever. So it might be worth kind of looking into some of that literature, because there are some interesting conversations about what it is that we take seriously, how is the genre affects perceptions, yada, yada, yada.
I definitely agree. I think there's something very interesting and unique about Facebook and the way information is presented on Facebook that kind of speaks to a lot of different online social networks. I mean, it's the same thing when we log into Twitter. We get this massive stream of information. Same thing when we log into Tumblr, massive stream of information. So if things aren't incredibly visually engaging, if they don't catch your eye instantly, then how are we really supposed to assign different importance to it, or different degrees of importance?
And if the assumptions are going into it with, oh, I have a break from work, I have some downtime, right?
Exactly.
Then, you know, there might be this way in which that frames how people are perceiving certain messages.
Yes, ma'am.
There's also talks about, the professor told you about, I'm trying to remember his name now, the race from New York Times, but he was saying.
I live in the future. This is how it works.
That's it. And the one that he was arguing was that our friends, whoever we identify as our friends, right, another thing that we find, that they tell us out of that huge vast stream of information, those things which we should attend. And we trust those people. So if they tell us that something's important to know, okay, I need to know that. Oh, who all of a sudden pay attention to that because this trusted friend told me that. So that adds another layer, you know, of complication to how we define these things.
You have
No, it's okay. I was just really wondering at what point in the year that you did this and during what year, because I haven't seen anything political in a long time, but I think back to the last presidential election and all of the advertisements down the side of my page were political. And so I just was curious to when you did it and if you think that doing it again in a more politically charged atmosphere, say closer to an election, would yield much different results.
I definitely think that this online data was this spring actually. Then we did a pre-test Oh, no, we did some more offline data last fall, and then did pre-test with him last spring, but no time during, well, it was election season last year, but not like a major presidential election. But I'm really excited because my program auctioned 1 year, so I'll be writing my thesis during the 2012 election. So really excited about that. I think it's going to yield some really rich data there. Go ahead.
Do you not want to continue it during non-election time? Like, 'cause I think back, just a couple weeks ago, budget crisis in my feed a lot, and even though it's not election, I think that is, it's also valuable because that kind of legislation, that kind of politically trained message is almost, it happens more.
Yes.
You have more of that kind of stuff, an election every 4 years, but every day you have something happening
Exactly.
that is political, and it's not an election.
I think your comment speaks to Dr. Wolf's comments with, really differentiating the types of political news and information we're looking for. At that point in time, we're not there. I think we will get there. I'm definitely not here in this particular study, but I agree with you. I don't think it should just be limited to, an election season. While I think an election season will really yield a lot of rich data, we can't just say, well, this is the only time political information is exchanged on Facebook or any political information we're looking at. So I think what you're talking about is next steps. But I think right now, at least in terms of feasibility and what I can do as an undergraduate moving into a graduate student, really honing in on election season is awesome. Or would be advised. Anybody else?
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.